gift card for the winner of every single session. So once again, we can't thank these guys enough. Our partners for this event wouldn't be possible without them. Brandon, is part of DiamondLinks up there, one of our sponsors of the event. So we thank him and his company for joining us. And then as we get started, I will give a brief introduction. Brandon Hopkins is the founder and president of DiamondLinks. For the past 15 years, he's worked to influence the search results for his clients that he has on board. They now have clients across the United States and has worked with clients from, I believe, 15 different countries. So not just the United States, but all over the world. And then they specialize in, obviously, SEO, but also online reputation management. So with that, I will disappear. I'll go into the background. I'll turn it over to you. I'll stop sharing my screen. If you need anything, let me know. I'll be watching behind the scenes.
Perfect.
But without further ado, the time is yours.
Thank you. Yeah, and we've been a partner of Textbrokers for a long time. I'll start sharing my screen here. But we've used Textbroker on a content level for, I don't know, probably 10 of those years. We've maybe even more than 10 years. They're definitely our preferred partner for finding good content, good writers, and it's just an easy, simple service. So we prefer Textbroker for our content, and we don't use anybody else. So just a plug for them as well. Today I'm going to be giving you 7 big league link building strategies that score in 2021. It is extremely thematically relevant to this. What you're going to leave with today is effective link building strategies that you can implement immediately. So at any point, feel free to drop a question in the chat. I'm going to also kind of review what we're going to be going over. And then at the end, I'll pull that back up so you can see kind of where we are and where we're going. But like I said, feel free to drop a question in the chat at any time, and I will answer any link building question as honestly as I possibly can. So even if that's about why my old domain is penalized, or why we stopped building millions of links, why we only build a few links, whatever questions you might have, I will answer completely honestly. So about me, I've been in the SEO space for about 17 years. I am the president of DiamondLinks. My specific areas of expertise are search engine influence. So what we do is influence the actual search engine results pages. For our SEO clients, we're pushing up their good properties. And for our reputation management clients, we're pushing down negative or offensive pages and properties. I do have 7 children. I work from home. And so my office is fairly soundproof. But if you do hear the door open and a child run in, that's just normal. So don't worry about that. I'm not a surgeon where having kids run in is an issue. So you just kind of adapt, and I'll pick one up every once in a while. And so if you see a kid on screen, then that's just what happens. So where we're going to be going is these 7 topics. The first is that EDU links are dead, or not, but maybe dead. The second is expert commentary, help a brother or help a reporter out. And the third is bulk email, which goes in the trash can with your cardboard recycling. The fourth is social media, where you say tweet twice and I'm out. Number 5, data-driven exclusive first looks. Sounds fancy like BABIP, which if you're a baseball fan, that's batting average of balls in play. And the 6th topic is industry connections, people you know, unlike my LinkedIn connections. And the 7th is guest post submissions, unrequited love like high school. So let's jump right in. Our focus, as I said, is link building, but not just link building, but effective strategies that influence the search results. So one of the rank trackers that we use is keyword.com. So this is a screenshot directly out of their platform for a keyword that, I've got hundreds and hundreds of screenshots like this, and I kind of collect them as tokens and reminders of the keywords that we've ranked and what we've done. So we've got hundreds and hundreds of this type of thing. That's what our goal is at the end of the day, for a client to come to us and say, what did you do? And we can show them in the rank tracker exactly what we can do. We provide reports, we show them graphs, we show them charts, we send every link that we build. But at the end of the day, the best KPI that they can look for is, what happened in the search results. When I search my company name, when I search my keyword, what do I see? If my company has moved up in the search results for our keywords, we're doing a good job. If my company has moved down for the keywords, we're not being effective. And so that's one of the biggest KPIs we look for is what is actually happening in the search results. Okay, so our first topic is edu links are dead or not dead, but maybe dead. And that title is kind of in jest, and I'll show you why in just a second. But what is an edu link? An edu link is simply a link from a college or university that has a .edu domain extension that links to your website. Okay? What types of edu links do we personally build? We specifically focus on scholarship links. So when we do edu links, we don't look for edu blogs. We don't look for links that can be published on blogs. We specifically target scholarship links. The purpose is rankings. So we're going to get to whether or not they work in a minute, but our specific goal for our edu links is that they will help a website rank. The big question, and definitely an important question, is are they real scholarships? And if they are not real scholarships, why would you build links for fake scholarships? So all of our clients' scholarships that we build links for are 100% legitimate scholarships. They pay out every penny at the end of the scholarship, and we help facilitate that. I had one client probably 5 or 6 years ago that tried to back out on a scholarship, and I didn't feel right about that because we had told 1,000 or 2,000 or 3,000 schools that we have this scholarship available. And he tried to back out saying he didn't want to pay. So we actually paid out the $1,000 scholarship to the scholarship winner. So all of our scholarships are completely legit. We even help our clients pick a winner if they want help with that, or at least narrow down. A lot of our scholarships will get 1,000 applicants. So we'll help kind of parse that list down to say, what criteria are you looking for? What do you want us to look for? Good essay questions, good videos, and we'll help sort through that and give them 10 or 20 or 50 that they can then choose from. So all of them are absolutely real scholarships. Now, are edu links dead or not, or maybe dead? And the debate rages on. So I Googled a few terms like edu links dead, scholarship links are dead, are scholarship links dead, are they working, do they not work? And here's some headlines. Raven Tools in 2006 said, Gov and edu links are dead. Stellar SEO said scholarship link building is dead in 2017. Pepperland Marketing said scholarship link building and social media growth are dead. A post on Black Hat World said scholarship links are dead, and here's another way to get edu backlinks. So there are people that all the way back in 2006 believed that scholarship link building was dead. But that's not all. We keep going. In 2017, edu is through. Scholarship link building is dead. I like this one down in the bottom left corner. 15 years ago, someone on Moz said, get your edu links now and enjoy them while they last. 15 years ago, someone was saying that edu links are dying. On Reddit, the conversation continued up until 9 months ago. Has it ever been proven that edu or gov links are better than regular .com links? And someone replied, it worked, talking about edu links and scholarships till 2016 or 17, but not now. Someone else replied, edu links are good, but scholarship links are used and abused and could be a negative signal from what I'm told. Another person, dead and potentially harmful. Some of the outgoing links on these pages are pretty toxic. But by far my favorite one was this poster, and I don't know if you can see my mouse cursor, but starting right here, he said, and this was 9 months ago on Reddit, we've seen them talking about edu links as examples for manual actions, talking about a penalty. The previous presenter was talking about some manual actions that Google will often take, and this poster is saying we've seen edu links as examples for manual actions. And then 2 posts later, He says they definitely won't get you in trouble if exposure is the goal. So they're very dangerous unless they're not. They'll get you penalized with a manual action unless they won't. And that is the problem with taking the advice of anybody randomly on the internet. You've got lots of people going both sides, and specifically the anti-link building crowd is very against link building, scholarship links, any type of link building really. So that is one area of concern, is that it's hard to identify, will scholarship links help or hurt? So the one person on that Reddit thread, the one person that said something good about scholarship links, I appreciate it because I like scholarship links. He says, or she says, gov and edu backlinks are, gov.gov.edu links are still higher value backlinks. This is 100% still a viable option for building your domain authority. If you can place an article that's contextual on one of these sites with an anchor text link back to your site with a do follow link, you're in the money. So he's saying contextual edu and gov links are good, which I agree. Let's see what happened on that post. He had 2 downvotes. So of that one post that I found on Reddit that I liked, nobody else liked him. So with that to say, there is a heavy shift away from scholarship links. Now, the trouble with quotes on the internet is that you can never know they're genuine. Quoted by Abraham Lincoln, of course, with a picture of Benjamin Franklin. This goes to show that there's the biggest problem that I find on the internet is there are a lot of quote unquote experts who have an opinion that is based on the opinion of someone else. So you get sites like Search Engine Journal and Moz and Black Hat World, and really a lot of voices and a lot of noise that's hard to parse through. How do you know what is good, what is bad, what is true, and what is false? And to that end, you have to do your own testing. You have to know conclusively, are EDU links dead? Do they work or do they not work? So now, how we build scholarship links, the 2 questions typically go, where do I place a scholarship? If I'm going to do scholarship link building, if I'm going to try to build EDU links, do I put that scholarship on my domain or do I put that on a separate domain? And for us, we always like to put that scholarship on a separate domain. We don't like to put that scholarship on the client's domain. So this is a primary tactic that we use, link building strategy that we use for reputation management, because we can have johnsmithscholarship.com. We can build lots of links to it. And if there ever was a manual action, it's about johnsmithscholarship.com, not a personal domain. Same thing for company pages, they're SEO clients. If they want to build a scholarship, we always like to put that off on company name scholarship.com rather than companyname.com. So here are a few real results for clients. I've redacted the actual client name in all of these to protect the client, but here is a scholarship. You can see the client name, 5.8 million broad match results. And it is clientnamescholarship.com, ranking in the #1 position. These are screenshots I just took this last week. Here's another one. The client scholarship domain is ranking #3. Here's how we do scholarship link building. Scholarship link building is a numbers game. You can't do this with a manual outreach approach. It is not going to work because you need to send out lots and lots and lots of emails. To that end, if somebody did want to send out lots and lots and lots of emails, Scrapebox would probably be a good tool to use. So here are some sample types of keywords: state name, scholarship, edu, in URL, edu, in URL, scholarship. There's lots of good Google search modifiers that you can look up and then kind of combine. One would be wise to search Google with their own browser and see what kind of results you're finding. One might also want to go and find existing scholarships and then try to reverse engineer those into effective searches. And then you'll get lots of this type of stuff. You can sort by .edu. You can just remove or filter by anything that does not contain .edu. And you'll end up with 19,000 or so unique scholarship targets, which is great. Now, when you go to send those emails out, it would be a wise practice to not just send one, but to send at least 2 or 3 follow-ups. And you basically just want to say, I want to give your students money. Your students need scholarships. They need to pay for college. I have money to give to your students. Of course, in a more eloquent way, but simply say, I want to give your students money. When someone replies, we take all of those in a very manual second step. So the school would reply saying, okay, we're happy to do it. And then they often have an ask of you. Can you send us the information in a PDF? Can you send us a company logo? Can you send us? So all of those need to be replied to manually. And you need to always make sure you're getting to your request. So what does it take to get my scholarship into the hands of your students? Is there anything else you can do to promote it? And we've actually had schools and universities, colleges and universities that have printed out a PDF flyer and placed it on the scholarship desk where they keep all the scholarship information. Some schools have a binder that they stick in all the scholarships that students can come and peruse through the binder and actually look at and then take notes or make copies of the scholarship information and the application if there is one. And so there's a lot of different ways that this can benefit you, but primarily we want to get to what is it going to take to get this scholarship on your website. That's where the backlink comes from. And here's another example of a client domain. We've got 29 results here, and this is in Ahrefs. I'm sorting by TLDs that contain EDU. So we've got University of Michigan with a domain rating of 90, Vanderbilt 87, UW, which maybe University of Washington, Wisconsin, got LSU, FIU, SMU, all these colleges around the nation that have good domain rank that all link out. Most of them have one link that goes out to the client domain. And beyond that, we often get a lot more links because as people are looking for and searching for scholarships, there are other sites that collect and collate that type of information. So these are all the domains that are linking, 101 results. We put out a press release. There's a bunch of other ones. The American Reporter that grabbed it. Digital Journal was probably a press release. So there's a lot of other links that come naturally as a result of these scholarships. And one that I did want to point out is if you notice Academic Works here, Academic Works is kind of like it allows colleges and universities to register their own accounts and then have a website that's separate from their root.edu domain, but it's all hosted on Academic Works. So if you look, there's 81 links here. Most of these are distinct colleges, but the way that it's going to work is that this looks like a link from Academic Works. So preferably the college puts it on their own domain, but a lot of them are switching to Academic Works and similar types of sites. One major bonus for scholarship links is autocomplete and searches related to. So this is a client name just in autocomplete, and I typed client name, and then what comes up is scholarship number 1, and then a bunch of other autocomplete searches for her name. So that is a very, very big bonus, especially if your clients have negative autocomplete or down at the bottom, searches related to. If any of those are negative, scholarship will almost always show up as an autocomplete result and a searches related to result, primarily because as the schools are passing out this information, students are going and typing in Google John Smith Scholarship. And as they type that in, hundreds of students all around the nation are typing in John Smith Scholarship. Google takes all that information and says, scholarship is a good autocomplete for the keyword John Smith. People also search John Smith Scholarship when they search for John Smith. So big bonus there. Our second topic, and don't forget if you have questions, drop them in the chat and we'll answer as many as we can towards the end. So the second one, and one of my favorites, is data-driven exclusive first looks. Now, to catch a journalist, and that's what we're looking at now, you need the right bait. So what is a data-driven exclusive first look? So when you're reaching out to a journalist, you need to have something that they want. If they're going to link back to your site, what can you give a journalist that would tempt them to want to link back to your site? The key word here is exclusive. And what you're going to do is write a data-driven article about something in your industry. So if you are in, let's say you're in the lawn care industry, you might want to say, I analyzed and looked at the top types of grasses by state. I looked at the best winter hardy grass. I looked at the best plants for summer planting across all the states. And you have a lot of data. You have tables and tables of data. You can let them download the data in a CSV. So you have to collect and collate all of this data. There are websites that produce a lot of data that needs to be sorted through and needs to be combed for your industry. So you write this article, you reach out to industry journalists that are specific for your industry and tell them, I have an exclusive for you. I need to know fairly quickly, but I have an exclusive for you. Here's the article. Give them a full article. You can password protect it on your site or just put it in a PDF and send it to them. Would you like this as an exclusive? Now, the way this works for the reporter is they write an article based on your article because they're just trying to pass out the news. You publish, they publish 2 minutes later. They get this exclusive first look at something important in your industry. Now, they love that idea of having an exclusive, and that's what you want to be able to give them. But you have to give them the real thing, not just a hook. So this isn't something that you're trying to trick them with. You're trying to give them something they really, really want. And now different bait will attract a different type of fish. So you need to identify, who do you want to attract? Where can you find that person? Can you actually handle a big fish? And the best practice is to start out small and grow. So you don't want to reach out, if you have an article, you don't want to go straight to the Washington Post or straight to the USA Today or the LA Times. Start with somebody local or start with somebody that's industry specific on a smaller news site. Build some credibility, and then you can start going after the bigger fish. So you need to have a plan. You want to become a known quantity. You want people to start to trust you, and if they're going to trust you, you need to be dependable, you need to be quick to reply, you need to be a resource and a good partner. Journalists are required to pump out a lot of content. If they need a quote, they need to know, I've got somebody in this industry that I can go to, I can email you, and you'll reply quickly, concisely, with something that is quotable. You don't want to just have, yeah, sure, I can talk about that. There's a lot of people that are doing lawn care around here. You want to have something that is good and quotable. Okay, that kind of leads us to expert commentary. If you've ever seen Help a Reporter Out, Haro is a place where journalists go and they reach out to regular people or business owners or whatever their industry is, and they are looking for quotes for their stories. This is one of the absolute best ways to build links, but it's difficult because when reporters email out to the Haro database, they send out, I don't even know how many, it's got to be hundreds of thousands of emails 3 times a day requesting quotes. Now that's good, but what you need to do is respond to a ton of them. And by the time you've responded to a ton of them and none of them have responded to you, you eventually unsubscribe because that is a lot of work. So what you need to do in order to start building that relationship, here's a screenshot of when I just search Haro in my Gmail account. They send out a lot of emails. So you have to reply to a lot of them to try to get actual quotes. Here's a screenshot on the right from DataBox, one of my favorite go-to sites to look and see what they're doing. Mike Chapman of Barndos confirms. There's a link to his site. Says Edward Mellett of Wikijob. I just grabbed one of these at random. Alexandra Coate of MKT Odyssey agrees. This is the kind of stuff that happens when you reply to the journalist requests for quotes. In order to be successful at this, You need to answer the question quickly but completely. The reporter is doing a lot of these, and they have an article, they have a deadline, they have a topic, they need to get it finished. They don't want to go back and forth with you. So if you send them something that says, hey, I'm an industry expert, I can help you out, what do you need? They're not going to reply. You're not going to get a second chance with them. They need you to say, here's the answer completely, but in 3 sentences. Here's the answer. Here's my name. Here's my title. Here's my phone number. Here's my website. And if you then make them ask for more information, they're also unlikely to do that. They're trying to fit their deadline. And if they get 25 emails, they're looking for who's the most helpful, what they can grab, what they can do quickly. So be complete, but be quick with your responses. Now, the third strategy that we use is bulk email. Now, with bulk email, you have to have a goal. You have to have a plan. And you can't just send out 10 million spam emails. That's not going to get you anywhere. That's not going to be helpful. So what we look to do is sending emails out to specific people that would be good partners, good resources for this specific goal, this specific plan. So if we're trying to build links for a specific industry or a specific data-driven exclusive type article, we want to send it out to people that actually have interest. We want to be a good resource for those people. We don't just want to, take a shotgun approach and here's 50,000 emails that we sent out that land in people's inboxes and spam folders, and everybody clicks spam because it's not relevant to them. So you want to send out a lot of email, but you want it to be targeted so it's not just sending out spam. So part of that is sending follow-up emails. We get great responses to all 3 or more of the emails that we send out. The first email is not enough. The second email is not enough. You at least need to send 3 emails before you start to get a response. Another good thing to add is an omni-channel strategy. So if your target demographic is on LinkedIn, it's also good to add a LinkedIn connection request, add a LinkedIn message. If your target's on Twitter, Twitter is a great place to add. One of the if you're looking at high value targets, pick up the phone. And I know that's strange to say because most marketers are behind the computer kind of people. But if you think about when the last time someone called you asking for you to review an article, asking for you to take a look at something, asking for you to consider building a link to their site, when was the last time that actually happened? I don't think I've ever received a phone call with somebody that's saying, hey, Brandon, I have this article. It's about link building tips. I thought you might be interested in it. Can you take a look and let me know what you think? I've never received that phone call. So if you want to go above and beyond, make that phone call and be as personable as you possibly can. There's a lot of tools. Pitchbox is one of them that will accelerate outreach. Mailshake, just search email outreach. There's millions of them. As I mentioned, Scrapebox is a great one to pull your own targets. You can search by keyword. You can search by Google advanced search modifiers to try to find specific targets rather than just anybody with an email address. All right, now social media. We don't use social media as much as we have in the past, but I'm going to cover this section without ever saying tweetering, which was something my mom thought I did, Facebooking, which I believe was like Googling. I've never done something for the gram, and we also will not be discussing my pathetic lack of Twitter engagement. I may or may not have bought followers in the past, so if you look at my Twitter account and you see 10,000 followers, you think I'm like pretty fancy. There's probably like 7 people that I actually know, and the rest of them are bots. So if I tweet something, nobody responds, and it just reminds me that those 10,000 people are not real people. So that's where we're going with social media. So to connect with people on social media, you need to first connect with them. You need to like something they've posted. You need to comment and be memorable, and then you send them your ask. You have to build some rapport before you just send out a tweet saying, dang, I said tweet. Before you send out a message and just say, hey, will you build a link to my site? Will you look at my article? Will you post this infographic on your site? You need to have some rapport before you say, can you give me a link? Okay, industry connections. One of my favorite ways to build links is through industry connections. And like a lot of things in life, it's all about who you know. You want someone to say something like, haven't I seen you around here before? They recognize your profile picture. They recognize your company name. They recognize something about you. That's that initial rapport that you want to build. So you want to connect, build rapport, offer value to them before you offer your request. Now, I had somebody do this to me. He had an account on Entrepreneur, and he was a writer for Entrepreneur, not a paid staff writer, but just somebody with an Entrepreneur account. And he connected with me on LinkedIn. He asked if he could email me, and I said, sure. So my email address is already on LinkedIn. He built rapport with something that I also liked. And then he offered value to me. He put a link on his site and had a blurb about my company, unsolicited. And he just had a list of recommended vendors for link building and added us in. And so I was like, okay, thanks, I appreciate it. And then he took that one step farther and asked if he could quote me in Entrepreneur. So he said, hey, I'm writing this article about link building, and he asked for a specific request. Then after it was published, he came back to me and asked what he was ultimately getting at was, would you return the favor? That's what this was. The buildup was all about, can you return the favor? And I did return the favor because we had rapport. I liked him. He had done things for me, and it was a naturally occurring way to build links, but it was a lot of work. There's two ways that you can do this. The first is the foot in the door technique, which is kind of, can you do me a little favor? All I need for you to do is, review this one paragraph. What do you think? Can you give me some feedback? A little request. It'll only take them 2 or 3 minutes. Once you have your foot in the door, then psychologically, they're more apt to say yes to a larger request. So start small and grow into the request that you actually want. The second is the Ben Franklin effect. And the quote here from Ben Franklin, he said, he that has once done you a kindness will be more ready to do you another than he whom you yourself have obliged. So what he's saying is that if you ask someone for help, you are submitting to them their intelligence, their abilities, their whatever it is. And so when you ask them for help, they're more likely to oblige because they believe they are helping you. And then you can grow that relationship beyond just them helping you in a small way into building links. So this is a much more rapport-based link building strategy, but a very, very effective one. Okay, and now my favorite and endlessly useful and always useful way of building links is guest post submissions. And if you felt yourself roll your eyes, I get it, because I not only have built a business out of guest posts, I have submitted hundreds of guest posts, but I have received thousands and thousands of guest posts. So I'm not talking about, hey, will you post this article that I have on your site? That is not the kind of guest posting that I'm suggesting. What I'm looking at is these 5 specific ways that we've talked about and using them as guest posts. So, journalist exclusives. When you build relationships with journalists, you can offer them a guest post. You have to build the relationship first. Okay, so the journalist needs to know you and trust you before you start talking about, hey, I have an article that I would like to have published on your newspaper, on your website. You need to build that relationship so that it's not an unsolicited email that they receive, but instead it's a value-added email they receive because you've been such a good partner to them. You've given them exclusive first looks. You've let them control the narrative, and now they're returning that favor. Another one is expert commentary. And for me, this is where I started with DiamondLinks 15 years ago, is I built connections with people, and then I would ask them if I could send an article because I was a known quantity in the industry. They knew my name. So I asked them if I could submit an article to their website about their topic. So I submitted articles to sites like Canva, and another one was Get Stencil. Stencil was like a Canva type site. And I didn't write about link building. Instead, I wrote about top tips for building effective infographics. And their site was about building infographics. So my topic was about their topic. So I'm adding to their value of their website because their readers are now getting good content. I'm not trying to write about my topic for them, but I'm leveraging my expertise in order to publish on their website. Email is a good way of connecting with people, but it needs to be targeted. So if you have a guest post submission and you're emailing, if you're emailing cold, you have to get to the point immediately. So I'm not talking about like an introduction paragraph. I'm talking about like an introduction word or 2 words. Hey, John, we're connected on LinkedIn. Wanted to see if any of these topics piqued an interest. 17 ways to build links in 2021, 7, whatever, so you're kind of hitting these link bait headlines where that guy who reads that email and decides in 2 or 3 seconds whether he's going to respond only sees what you've bolded, what you've set in an ordered list right in front of him, 3, 4, 5 topics that he can say, yeah, sure, that sounds good. Send it over, I'll take a look. So you want to have a very short and clear email that has to be targeted. If possible, you want it to be about their industry and about their website rather than about your website. I like this this meme here. It says, how many social media marketers does it take to change a light bulb? It's not about the change. It's about engaging people in conversations about the change. And that is, to me, the essence of social media marketers is, I don't know what you're doing. I don't know how to measure it. Did it make me money? And so that's what I want to know from social media. And the answer is often, well, we're not measuring that. We're measuring reach. We're measuring engagement. And I'm trying to measure dollars. So there's always a disconnect. And so for me, trying to figure out those social media KPIs are difficult. So what I use social media for is rapport, connecting with people, liking what they did, liking what they said, sharing it, resharing it, or however that social media platform works. You want to engage with them. So I've built a relationship with a guy on LinkedIn that I'm trying to hire because I really think he is good at what he does. So he doesn't yet know I'm trying to hire him, but I'm trying to build rapport to hire him. So I'm using social media, I'm using LinkedIn, that we are finding common ground, and then I will eventually offer him a job. That's my goal with social media. That's how I'm working with him. I've done the same thing with guest posting lots and lots and lots of times. I comment, I ask questions, I build rapport, and then towards the end, you actually ask what you're originally looking for. And then industry connections. When you are in an industry for long enough, you should start to know who the other people are in your industry. And that's something that's very important because those relationships go a long way as you start to build your career or build your company. And there are a lot of opportunities for overlap. A guest post submission to a friend in the industry, a connection in the industry, is very different because it's a dialogue, it's a conversation instead of just, you just dumping a bunch of topics on them and they're like, I don't really care. I could pay a writer $50 at Textbroker to write this article if I really wanted that article. What value do you bring? So you want to have that inherent value of being an industry expert, being in your industry and being well connected before you offer that pitch to your friends and colleagues in the industry. So in review, EDU links are dead, unless they're not. Expert commentary, bulk email, social media, data-driven exclusive first looks, industry connections, and guest post submissions. Contact us if you have any questions, but I'm going to open it up for, we do have a series we call Ask DiamondLinks, where I answer any questions you have in a 5-minute video or so. So if you have any questions, go to diamondlinks.com/ask and submit a question, and I'll answer it over video in about a 5-minute, and we'll publish it on YouTube and send you the link to it. So I'm going to turn it over to questions, I think, here. And I'm going to leave that and hit in slideshow and come back over here.
Awesome. Thank you for that presentation, Brendan. A lot of very useful information. Quite engaging, too. I found, maybe it's because I'm a dad, but I found your kind of dad humor, meme humor, quite funny. So
you either like it or you don't, but either way, you're getting what you're paid for with this presentation.
Hey, I liked it. It also spurred some questions. So I will just get to those so we don't waste any time. Scott, back to your first point about the EDU links. He says, what type of companies or individuals do you recommend doing scholarships? And is it a good idea for just anyone?
I think it's a great idea for anyone. I mean, if nothing else, like we do $1,000 as our scholarship. We've tested 500, we've tested 5,000. I had a client want to do a $10,000 scholarship. We found the best results at $1,000. Anything less and you do get less links, anything more and you don't get more links. So $1,000 seems to be the sweet spot. And if you can afford $1,000 plus the cost of outreach, it's a no-brainer. You know, we usually do outreach for 3 to 6 months, and we send out a lot of emails to very targeted people, and it's great. So even if you're an individual just looking to bolster your personal reputation, you don't have anything negative, or a company that's just looking to be good in your industry, there's a lot of goodwill that's involved. You can pick someone local out of the community. You take a picture with them, you hand them a check. It's goodwill for the community, and you're also helping a student pay for college.
Cool. Yeah, that's definitely, there are a lot of different ways to get links, but that seems to be one that has a lot of good karma associated with it.
Yeah, it does.
Another question is from Amanda, and she said, what type of things do you say on cold calls to potential clients without sounding scammy? Also, what do you find is the best way to outreach? Phone, LinkedIn, email, etc.?
Well, to answer the second question first, the best way to outreach using whatever method is expected is my favorite. So if my clients are not on LinkedIn, I'm not going to waste time by sending LinkedIn messages to people that are not on LinkedIn. If they're not on social media, I'm not going to waste time trying to find them on Twitter or on Facebook. They're just not on social media. So understanding your demographic and where they spend time is important. If they're on Reddit, Reddit's great. If they're on something else, then that's great. But focusing on where they are and how they interact is the first thing. On cold calls, I always try to be very humble and let them lead the conversation, because if you come in like a cold caller, they're immediately going to be defensive and put up walls. So I try to instantly build rapport. So if I said something like, hey, Cody, I'm Brandon. We're connected on LinkedIn. We're friends on LinkedIn. I don't know if you know me or not. You probably don't. But I just wanted to, can I take like a few seconds and just tell you why I called? Your defenses aren't raised because I'm not trying to sell you something. I told you why I'm calling, what we're friends about, and so trying to kind of build some rapport before you go into the ask is always going to be better.
Cool. And then Scott had a follow-up question. He's the same one who asked about the scholarships. And he said, thanks for the answer. Going back to Haro, it seems like journalists will get a lot of responses. Why would they use your response? Which I think is a really good question.
It is, because they usually won't use your response. You have to send out, I would say if you get a 1% response rate, you're doing good. Maybe you can kind of boost that to 5 or 10% if you are a known industry expert already and someone in your industry is reaching out. But for the most part, it's going to be a very, very low response rate. So you have to think of it in a scale type number. You have to commit to it as a strategy, be willing to send out 100 responses before you're expecting anything. And so what we do when we do it is we look for answers that we can answer quickly, 2 or 3 sentences. If the reporter really likes it and they have follow-up questions, that's great, but we want to answer it as quickly and as completely as possible. You have to just say, I know most of this is not going to get used, and I'm okay with that. But if you get one of those links, they're going to be very, very good links because it's a very specific type of site. It's industry related, it's contextually relevant, and it's going to be a big win for you.
Cool, great. Richard, another question for you from Richard. He says, I've been focused on writing and buying Textbroker content, site build, and learning about SEO for a new content blog we are launching. The world of backlinks blows my mind and is still foreign to me. Any good one-on-one resources, in addition to your website and blog, of course, that you would suggest for total noobs?
I have a hard time with that, Richard, because a lot of the advice I categorically deny is true because I've tested it. And so for me, the advice that the mainstream sites have and the mainstream sites use, I read it and it feels like it's written by somebody who has never done any kind of link building and is almost trying to deceive their readers, because they say things like link building is dead, which people have been saying since 2003. Link building is not dead. It's never died, and it's still very effective. But you'll have experts tell you link building is dead. So I would say that one of my favorite places is Black Hat World. There's a lot of people at blackhatworld.com. There's a lot of misinformation as well, but it's at least a good spot where you can find some people that are like-minded, and they're trying to push the limits of what does link building look like? What does effective link building look like? But with the good, you also get the bad. So trying to find somebody you like. I know that on a previous digital marketing league, Jim Boykin presented. And I think of the few jobs that I've applied to in my life, I applied to work for Jim Boykin probably 18 years ago, because he was amazing 18 years ago. He still is today. He's fantastic. But 17, 18 years ago, they were doing things that I never even conceived of. There was another guy named Eli from a site called Blue Hat SEO that just kind of blew my mind. And so I instantly subscribed. I kept his site in a bookmark, and I just constantly went back hoping for more information. So finding that kind of person and saying, I want to do whatever that person is doing, and just holding on to their coattails as hard as possible, following them on every channel in case they post on Twitter once a month or post on LinkedIn once a year, trying to find that person and holding hard to them is what I would suggest.
Cool. And maybe this, it's a pitch for you guys, but just link building in general, having been in this industry for a while myself, there comes a point in time where you guys are the experts. Like I can do some outreach on my own, but there's a reason why there is a link building industry, and why, why there are experts. And like you said, the thing that draws me to you and DiamondLinks is just the approach behind it. I think it was your first slide. You had that graph of the Facebook ad agency keywords. And this leads to a personal question that I have, and with you, I can just say it to you, is the thing that I like is there's legit questions and answers and data to show that, okay, if I spend money with you guys, this is what I'm getting. Mm-hmm. And so the question of mine is, when people are starting out and they're looking for backlink agencies and stuff like that, what should they look for, and maybe what are some red flags?
Good question. I would say the thing that I look for immediately is the efficacy of the strategy. If what you're doing is going to work, tell me why it's going to work. It shouldn't be difficult. There shouldn't be anything hidden. There shouldn't be, well, that's proprietary information. That's something we can't explain to you because you're too dumb to understand. We can't tell you this part because that would be divulging too many of our secrets. There are no secrets. You're building links. How do you build those links? If you can't tell me that, you're hiding something, and I assume because you're trying to scam me. So for us, we tell clients, we have two primary ways of building links. We have a list of probably 2,000, maybe it's pushing even more now, different sites that we've negotiated a price with. They will publish our content or they write their own content. Every single site is different. We have a database of all of these details, including our cost and what they look for, what they will do. Is it do follow, no follow, 500 words, 5,000 words? And so we have a database of that. That's the first way. The second way is we have probably 800 bloggers, website owners, editors that have agreed to write their own content on their site in their voice with the topic and put in the keywords and links that we ask them to. So we pay them to write and publish content that is about our clients, or not, sorry, let me back up, not about our clients, but about their topics and industries. and then put links in, both authoritative links and client links into that content. So it's just like you reaching out and contacting somebody who has an industry specific page that you want to link on, or you want them to post a new page. It's not rocket science. It's not anything that's overly difficult. But the problem is most people don't have the time and resources to send out 75,000 emails a month and then respond to everybody who replies. That's the value that we bring to the table, is we spread that cost across 50 to 75 clients, where if you're trying to do that on your own, you bear the full cost of all the moving parts. I mean, we pay, one of our outreach programs is like $2,500 a month. I mean, you could go out and buy that software. You could hire people to do all of this, but you're going to spend probably 10 times more than we would charge you in trying to do the exact same thing that we're doing. So trying to gauge the value of what we're doing versus what you can do on your own. It's something you can do on your own, but we do it at scale, and we get better rates because we post 25 articles on this site per month rather than 2 or 1.
Right. And listening to your presentation, one of my biggest takeaways, or I guess a reminder, is just how labor intensive backlink work is. Like, it's not just go on LinkedIn for 5 minutes and you have a backlink. It requires a lot of work. So just a couple more questions to get to before we wrap up. Scott he says, the last question I have, can you give an example about using industry connections to get links?
Yeah, I think, this presentation right now is a good example of an industry connection. We've used Textbroker a lot longer than you have, known us. And I think that's one of the ways that we are connected, is we've been fans of Textbroker for 10 or 15 years now and spent a lot of money. You guys handle all of our content. So when you guys have this type of thing, we're a good first thought, because I've been in this industry. We've spent a lot of money with you because you guys do good work. So for me, this is an exact type of thing. I've posted guest posts on real high authority sites because I knew people. And so if I see a site that I want to write for, I can look in my LinkedIn and see if I know anybody that works there, or know anybody who is a second degree connection of somebody who works there, and say, hey, can you put me in touch with this person? So I think just knowing people and being connected is that type of industry connection that I look for.
Hey, Cody, let me I think maybe we have time for one last question. Amanda asked, are all backlinks good for sites, or are there any that she should avoid?
I think that's a very deep question. We tend to avoid sites that are clearly spammy. They're clearly a PBN, a private blog network, meaning that they're only built exclusively for the purpose of selling links. We want to avoid anything that's like that. We look for real sites owned by real people that write real content. That's a very important thing for us, is that a real person owns it and a real person is writing their own content. They have a voice, they have their own style, and that's what we want. Avoiding backlinks that you can buy on Fiverr are definitely something that you want to do. I mean, if a backlink is too good to be true, it probably is going to be toxic at some point. But I think Google is moving away from penalizing sites and moving towards devaluing links. So I expect that we'll have less penalties and more devaluation, because if I can just go build a bunch of toxic links to my competitor and I penalize them and now they're gone, there's a pretty big problem there. So instead, I think Google will look at those links and say they're toxic. I'm not going to count them towards anything or for anything. So we'll move less away from less penalties and more towards the devaluation of links. So avoid spam, but I would say don't worry about it too much.
Got it.
Cool. One last question just came in. I want to get to it, so I'll just read it real quick. It says, as the website developer, is having a backlink to us in the footer bad or good?
I would say that my preference would be to use an image backlink or a branded backlink. So don't use heavy anchor text. Don't even use partial match anchor text. Definitely don't use exact match anchor text. Like, website designer Tampa, but instead use Tom Jones website design. So making sure that your backlinks are branded or images will raise a lot less red flags to Google than having exact match anchor text. But I also think it's a resource for you, because if somebody gets to that website, they like the design, they like the layout, they like the work you've done, there's no way for them to know who did it unless they see that footer link. And it's a very common thing. People expect to scroll to the bottom, see website designed by, website managed by. So having your link there is good. If you're worried about it, you can always stick a no follow tag on it. But I think a branded link or an image link is safe.
Awesome. Thank you again so much for taking the time to do this. Like I said, just kind of a pitch for you guys, as I've gotten to know Brandon a little bit better throughout the pandemic and our Zoom conferences. Definitely highly recommended. He knows his stuff, so we appreciate having you on and all the time and effort you put into this. So I will share my screen just so we can get to the